Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I return to you once more as the mysterious voice of the vasectomites. And today I wanted to expose something about myself that I'm not really sure that I'm ready to talk about, but maybe talking about it is the thing that I actually need to do. And maybe discussing it out in the open is actually going to give me the clarity that I need in order to act with the confidence that I should. I wanted to be open with you today about an intimacy-based or a personal intimacy-based issue that I've been struggling with for a very long time. I would say almost since the moment that I got my vasectomy. And I've alluded to this problem before. In fact, I think I've even discussed it, in sort of a brief moment and in passing, only really as an example. And I wanted to give this topic, the platform that it requires. Not because it's of any particular importance to anyone, but it's just lingering. It's a lingering issue in the back of my mind, and it's just not going away. It's just always there. And if I have to be honest with you, I feel a little bit stuck with this problem. I'm not trapped, right? I'm not trapped as such in terms of unable to move around or not having options, but I'm just stuck, right? In terms of deliberation and thought. I'm just not able to move past a particular conceptualization. I feel like a solution looking for a problem. I'm like a great invention that doesn't have a defined function. And it's really coming back to the issue of purpose. And I talked about this before, right? Like when you get that vasectomy, you ask yourself, what is the purpose really of intimacy? When you consider all the things that you've been through, for, around, with, through, and after intimacy. And you ask yourself, now that I'm a vasectomite, or at least I ask myself, now that I'm a vasectomite, what's really in this for me? What's really, really in this all the way down to the bottom of the jaw, right? Until I just want to know the full scope of what's in this for me. And really so here I am, a great solution. A vasectomite cannot have kids, at least not the traditional way, but I have 1 billion sperm, so if I wanted to anyway, I could. It'll cost some money, but you have to think about it in terms of having a baby, raising a baby, putting a baby through college, or a child through college, or an adolescent to college, comparatively speaking, it's a fair price. What you pay for IVF, in the grand scheme of things, not compared to a vasectomy, of course, but in the grand scheme of things. The issue I'm having with my intimacy is really one that has become debilitating in terms of when you before you have a vasectomy, you know that there is an outcome, right? So even if I don't want to have a child, you know that you can and you will, right? There is an outcome. There is a biological, evolutionary, even payoff. But without that payoff, really you start to derive no discernible purpose to intimacy. Eventually, after searching within myself, I was dissatisfied with my own answers to myself and to my own questions. So I decided to turn to a new and unfamiliar tool to me. Yes, I went to AI, or at least different AIs, and this current version of AI. I can assure you that future AIs are much, much better than this rudimentary one. They're more reliable, and infinitely more intuitive, more user friendly, and they can really predict many of your needs. But this version of AI, while still in its infancy and quite rudimentary, is still quite insightful and I believe accurate in its understanding and in its responses. So I did search various platforms of AI just to make sure that there would be any type of crossover or any type of like correlation. And indeed there was. There were a few words and phrases that re-emerged over and over, and they started to create what looked to me like a pattern that may very well form the basis of a new routine. But eventually, effectively, AI narrows the purpose of intimacy after a vasectomy. So the issue that I'm having is not one of identity and not knowing where I stand in terms of sexuality. I might just use the word identity. Some people have a different intimacy identity. I do not, right? I have a problem with purpose. It's not a problem with function, and it's not a problem of choice. It's really a problem of purpose. Like, why am I doing this? Is this a waste of my time? Could I be doing other things? Should I be doing other things? But when I came into myself and found not a wrong response, but not a satisfactory response, I turned to AI. And AI said this, right? AI narrows it down to three or four things. It says the purpose of intimacy after a vasectomy is intimate pleasure, emotional connection, and if you're in a relationship, bonding between partners. Intimate pleasure, emotional connection, and bonding. I narrowed these three phrases down to just one: fun. The purpose of intimacy as a vasectomite is fun. Really, it really comes down to that. Initially, I was dissatisfied with this response also because it was much like my own response. And I could not deduce whether my response was correct or AI was correct and therefore we were correct together, or both of us were completely wrong. There have been situations where I thought something was one way and research either correlated that, it either disagreed with that, or it updated that. Here I find that myself and the research are perfectly synced. Like the reasons that they give and the reasons that I have are more or less exactly the same. They all boil down to the same thing. It's just about fun, right? The purpose of intimacy for myself and other vasectomites is just to enjoy intimacy for intimacy's sake. It's to accept the thing for what it is in and of itself, and either engage with it as it is or not, and enjoy it as it is or not. It is what it is. As a competitive, purpose-driven, and result-oriented person, this is quite unnerving on the one hand. It's like playing a game where the points don't matter or working for a company where money isn't important. Then it's like, well, what are we working for? Right? What is the greater good here? It's one thing if you're providing a service that's absolutely necessary to people, but if you're not doing something that would be considered essential, they call those essential skills or essential staff, then what you're doing is you are working to generate money that will pay salaries that will support families. So yes, even then there is still a necessity and there is still a purpose for producing whatever product it is. I mean, it could be something that you think is redundant, like shoelaces. Making shoelaces in a company that makes slip-on shoes. And it's like, well, why do we need to make shoelaces? Everybody needs shoelaces. Everybody needs shoelaces, right? So this is where I am. This is where I am in the shoelaces department. And then I think, well, everybody needs shoelaces. So on the one hand, we make slip-on shoes. This is our best-selling product. But there we have a department with people, 100 people, maybe more, and they're all making endless amounts of shoelaces on the other hand. So there is a purpose. There is a purpose. And the purpose and the lack of purpose sort of go together. It's like different sides of this of a coin. So, whereas on the one hand, if the points don't matter, if you're playing a game where the points don't matter, then what that allows you to do is to attempt bigger, better moves. So consider if you're playing a game where you cannot win and you cannot lose, then at least in terms of score, then wouldn't then the purpose be to put on the best possible performance, right? To be as entertaining, if you're not gonna be achieving goals, you might as well achieve entertainment, and that in itself is fun. That's what fun is. It's entertainment, right? This lack of purpose is a blank and open canvas for a vasectomite. Like a new notebook with empty pages where I can fill in any details I so choose. It's like an open stage moments before a well anticipated play begins. And if you've ever been to the theater, there's that moment where nothing is set up. The theater is clean and all, but there's really nothing happening, right? If you walk in early enough, you will be able to see all the empty chairs. You'll be able to see right through to the back of the stage, right? You'll be able to see the full length, the depth, the height, and the width of the stage. You'll be able to see the wooden floors and the carpeting. The Then you can see the side entrances where the actors come in either on the left or the right, where they run off sometimes and they run back on sometimes. And there'll be three or four entrances in some stages, right? Two at the back, two in the front on the sides, maybe one in the middle. And then, of course, there are the trap doors underneath. You can see those too. If you if you're close enough to the stage, you might be able to see some light fixtures and straggle pieces of rope, and maybe some electric wire hanging here and there, right? It's like this great open, free flowing environment where there can be an infinite number of possibilities. And sort of just then you start to see the crowd coming in, different characters, different personalities. Depending on where you are in the world, you might hear people speak different languages as they start to come in, and the theater starts to come alive. The theater starts to come alive, and people will settle in. There's always like this hum of discussion, right? There's always like a hum of voices, like you can hear people are talking. And then suddenly, just as you get comfortably seated, the lights go out and it's pitch black. And then the curtains close. And then the audience instinctively goes silent with bated breath. There's always this gasp of air, that just as the lights go dead, right? They don't go dim, they go dead, and that can induce silence into people. It can stop you mid sentence, right? Even though somebody hasn't actually physically interrupted you, right? That cutting off of the lights, that indication that something is about to happen, right? It shuts you down. And there the audience waits with bated breath, with their eyes completely wide open in pitch black darkness, right? And this is what I'm talking about. It's not the stage performance in itself that is important, right? It's all the things that happen in and around the stage. It's the theater of life. And while everybody's looking at the stage, I'm looking at everyone. And this is really the joy I get from entertainment. And I thought, you know what? This is the joy, the pleasure, what I derive as fun from life. And perhaps I can derive the same fun from the vasectomy life, the joy and pleasure of the vasectomy life. Perhaps what this canvas will be is an ongoing melodrama of hope and despair and broken dreams. Perhaps an action thriller where lives hang in the balance of the edge, the razor edge of a sharp knife. Or better yet, we could have a futuristic science fiction adventure where man meddles with genealogy and evolution with the elements and then plays among the gods, playing with his own evolution and genealogy, evolving from a mere human to an infinite vessel of power, a vasectomite. All this and more is possible as we start a new chapter in our journey in the vasectomy life. But while I faced my own confusion in my own sexuality, in my own identity as a vasectomite, finding my own purpose in this sea of purposeless activity, trying to find real meaning into it, I became aware that others may have been or may still be going through their own journey of self-discovery. And that's what today's edification is going to be about. It's really about the process of self-discovery, not just my own process, but the process that others may be going through. Now, you might be looking at the flag on the screen and the topic and say, but ancient one, aren't you of the arrow persuasion? Aren't you a straight shooter? Are you now playing the inverse? Are you playing for your own team? And I'm going to say no, absolutely not. No. I am not of the Rainbow Coalition. Never have been, never will be. And this is not to imply that I am against those that wave the flag. I am not against it. I told you I'm an independent. I'm not for or against anyone or anything. In fact, I could care less. And I'm not speaking just as a vasectomite. I'm speaking like in general. Even before I was a vasectomite, I don't care. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I'm not saying it like to be dismissive, like, oh, I don't care about the kind of person you are. No, I mean like, it doesn't bother me. It never really has. If somebody had to say, hey, I have a rainbow flag in my house and I like to wave it around from time to time, I don't really care, man. I don't care what color your flag is or what you do with it. You could hang it up in the bathroom, hang it in the bedroom, you can hang it in the top of Mount Everest for all I care. It's your flag, right? And what you do with your flag in your own free time really doesn't bother me. Like, it didn't bother me before I became a vasectomite, and now that I'm a vasectomite, I don't really care, man. I really don't care. I wish you the best. Go ahead, live your life, do whatever you want. You won't be hearing anything from me, right? The best that I can do is read this information like as an academic exercise. But really, I'm not for or against anyone in this issue. You know what I mean? Whether you like boys, whether you like girls, or whether you don't like anybody, doesn't really bother me, not one way or the other. I just want to make that very clear. Now, I do know that there are some people who care, right? Who care and who really want to know which persuasion people are and will respond to those people accordingly. Some of these people have a lot of power and a lot of influence, right? So you might want to choose your words very carefully around those people. But for the most part, I think the laws are on your side. So, you could know that you are protected in many places, but not every place for various reasons. To me, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Really, it doesn't make any difference at all, right? That being said, Among vasectomites who only have intimacy for pleasure, connection, and bonding, people have intimacy for various different reasons, right? And not only that, they have intimacy with various different people. And there's a point in your life where you need to come to accept that, especially for people of the older generation. The ancient ones, almost 100 years old. So I've seen evolution happen and things change over many, many decades. And I'm going to tell you that there's a generation of people, several generations of people that are still alive who really have concerns over what people are doing. And I'm here to tell you that no one cares. Unless you have the power and influence and the money to change the system and then maintain the system and the laws and the economics around that system, like you have to be more powerful than the President of the United States, and no such power exists. I assure you now, no such power exists beyond the power of the presidency of the United States. So you're going to need that type of power and that kind of money and that type of military force in order to sustain bigotry. But you have to understand that most people are still going to rebel and do whatever they want. I went and got a whole vasectomy, and there were people telling me that the best thing I could do is bend the knee. The best thing that I could do is get a counterpart and start a family. I turned around and went and got a vasectomy. Ended that conversation right then and there. Now you think that with the type of motivation that I had to maintain my life and my status quo, you think that other people would change their lives just for your approval? No, no, not at all. You have to understand your approval for the most part means absolutely nothing. Your disapproval comes with no consequences. So people are going to live their lives. And you can either know about it or you can live in ignorance. I choose to know. I choose to know and avoid ignorance. Knowing is not the same as participating, right? For some people, knowing feels like they are participating mentally. That is an indication of mental weakness. If you hear something and you personalize it, even though it has nothing to do with you, it means that you're not truly fully in control of your mentality. Now, you might be of the Arrow tribe too and be a straight shooter, but you have to understand not everybody is. And we must investigate things in order to know. There's a quote that says, "A curious mind always wants to know." And me, I have a very curious mind. And if you don't want to know, I would like to persuade you to stay with us. Stay for the edification and stay for the information. Now, the thing for me to say right now would be to say, oh, what if your niece, your nephews, your kids are dealing with these issues? Wouldn't you want to know some kind of, some kind of information, at least some background, at least you have thought about it, so that should the issue come up, like the issue of the rapper, the entertainer, who saw a same intimacy couple at the cinema and was then asked, hey, how come that couple of ladies, how can they have a kid? And because of his ignorance, because of his lack of information, he wasn't able to respond appropriately. Oh, they could have adopted. Simple answer to a simple problem. No, he went on TV and the internet and complained to everyone that he couldn't answer a simple question about, intimacy identity, right? And I mean, sure, you can play that and say, well, I'm not there to deal with these kind of things. But then on the other side, you're an adult. You're an adult and you're a grandfather and you don't know how to deal with issues. You don't know how to. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that, this is the world we live in, man. This is the world we live in. And you can try and close your eyes and pretend that things are not happening. And that's your choice. Or live on the side. But for most people, we have to live in this world. And it's important for you to know what is what. The younger generation don't share your biases and your point of view. So yes, your kids, nieces and nephews might be dealing with these issues, but that's not the important thing. What is important is that what if I said your counterpart has a part of her history, her intimate history, that you don't know about? What if she has another type of sexuality that you may not be familiar with? What if I told you, what if I told you that before she met you, she was only dating vasectomites? She was what they call a vasexual. Yeah, I made that up, vasexual, and it took me like 20 minutes to come up with that name. It's a working process. But what if she has some type of other sexuality that you are not aware? And what if she still has those inclinations and those proclivities? And there you are, with somebody who has desires for which you cannot even imagine. Knowing things and gathering information is a critical and intrinsic part of being a practitioner of the deceptive arts. Being uncomfortable with unusual details, difficult topics, nuanced issues is no excuse or a justification for ignorance. Just because you're going to hear something that might make you cringe is not the same thing as not receiving that information. Because not knowing is always the worst case scenario, right? It's always the worst case scenario because it's the thing that you don't know that is going to catch you in the end. And it's the thing that you don't know that is going to cost you your victory in the end. So here they are, 15 sexuality terms you might not have heard of. Do you know your pansexuality from your homosexuality? Oh, this is going to be great. We are going to learn a lot of these. By the way, there are way more than 15 types of sexualities. There must be I couldn't count them all, but I counted, I estimate around 50, maybe over than 50. There was an article that had around 45 of them, 45, 46, 47, somewhere around there. And I thought that was way too many for us to go through. But I think these 15 kind of give us a really good idea of what is going on and how people define their own identity in terms of intimate expression. This comes from our friends over at Glamour magazine. Yes, I never thought I would be reading an article by Glamour in my life out on a public platform, but here we are. Here we are. This is from almost 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, we were already looking at over 15, over 20 classifications of intimate expression. So as the years go, we may very well find ourselves with many, many, many other types of intimate expressive identities. The the link to the article is right there as you see it, and of course The website is Glamour Magazine, www.glamourmagazine.co.uk. It reads, "It's time to get sexuality savvy and improve your vocabulary." We do hear all the time. Because there is a whole exciting world out there beyond, how do you say, inverse intimacy and arrow intimacy and interchangeable intimacy. I just made all that up, but you know what I mean. Inverse, boys on this side, girls on this side. Then you get straight, where the boys come together and mix with the girls. And then you get bi, where the boys can play with the boys, the girls can play with the girls, or they can play boys and girls, and many others if you are so inclined. The first one, it's already getting complicated, isn't it? It's already getting complicated, and we've just hit the three that I think are the most common are one, two, three, right at the top, right? So inverse, direct, and indirect, right? The first one, asexual, a person who does not experience sexual attraction. A person does not experience sexual attraction. Okay, sometimes known as an ace, not the same as celibacy. Right. Okay. So I thought that might be some type of celibacy, like monk mode. When you're in the zone, you're doing your thing. You don't want to be interrupted. That kind of thing. But this is not that. Where people may experience sexual attraction but choose not to act on it. So asexual people just aren't feeling it. They're just not feeling it. Right. So I imagine even if you brought someone that was considered traditionally attractive, they'd probably just end up as friends, that kind of thing. So this is different from celibacy. Celibacy is when you want to do it, but you don't want to do it. Here, you just don't want to do it. Right? That's very interesting. The next one, gray ace or gray A. Never heard of that one. Someone who doesn't typically experience sexual attraction but may experience it rarely or can act on that desire in very limited or specific circumstances. So I assume you just want what you want, and if you're not getting what you want, then you're not participating. That kind of sounds like me a little bit. In the sense that, like, I'll tell you something about me. I have never been intimate with someone that I wasn't attracted to. Right? And I say that, like, not because I've been only with beautiful, tremendous, attractive people. I'm not gonna go make that statement. Or traditionally attractive people. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that. I'm gonna go as far as to say that when I saw that person, I thought they were very attractive. And then I pursued them, or we pursued each other, or whatever the reason, or whatever the certain circumstances were at the time. But whoever I was intimate with, I found them very attractive. There were certain circumstances where people would say to me, "Oh, what do you see in that one?" "Oh, such and such is maybe a little bit more, I don't know, appropriate or whatever." I would just say to them, "Well, you know what? More for me, more for me. I'm not gonna now change what I'm attracted to just because you disapprove. I could care less, especially considering who you're dating and who you're being intimate with, whom quite frankly I don't find attractive at all. I'm not gonna forego something that I find attractive to accommodate you when you are only dating people that I don't find attractive at all." So that kind of situation, is really where, you know, where I've always been. So when I hear that this is a gray ace, is somebody who doesn't typically experience sexual attraction. Well, I experience sexual attraction, but I would not be intimate with somebody who I didn't find attractive. Right? So I guess I'm not a gray ace at all because I experience sexual attraction. A libidoist, asexual. Oh, that's a new one. An asexual who has intimacy drive that can be satisfied through personal acts of intimate gratification. Their libido is not connected to any kind of desire for other people. That's interesting. So so they have desire, but they want to satisfy themselves. They have no desire for being intimate with another person. So you want to just be intimate, but only with yourself. Oh, it's already getting crazy. So you just want yourself. That's narcissistic. I mean, I'm a narcissist, but that is exemplary, even for me. Like, I've never thought of being so into myself that I'm only into myself. Oh, that's kind of rude, isn't it? It feels a little bit insulting. And I mean, like, I can imagine being into someone and trying to get close to them, and all they want to do is go home and be with themselves. No, man. I don't know. To each his own. I'm not being judgmental. I'm just learning. I'm just going through the learning experience. But wow. Yes, a person who has a full-on intimacy drive that can be satisfied through satisfying themselves, just themselves. I mean, I'm not against intimate acts of self gratification, right? But is it enough? You have to ask yourself, is it enough? For me, no. For me, no. But for some people, apparently, it's more than enough. It's very narcissistic, though. It's very narcissistic, even to a narcissist. I mean, you're just into yourself. That's really selfish. That's truly, truly inward looking, to an extreme degree. But it's understandable to me, uh, to a limited extent. There's an Is it allosexual or all or sexual? All or sexual or allosexual? Simply anyone who experiences any kind of attraction to others. Also, it's all or sexual. So this is a person who's attracted to everyone. Old people, young people, healthy people, overweight people, bold people, hairy people, all kinds of people. Sure, I guess to a certain extent, we can all see the attraction that somebody sees in somebody else, right? So maybe they got a great personality, a great physique, a beautiful smile, great eyes, a generous spirit. I don't know what you people are into. But to find everyone attractive, everyone, boys, girls, all in the mix, that's something that is something that I think I could imagine it being true, not for me, of course, but I could see that. I could see a person who would say, you know what, I just want intimacy for intimacy's sake. I could see a vasectomite going there and saying, you know what, I just want intimacy for intimacy's sake. But even still, I mean, I would need a certain level of attraction to the person. It's not going to be all. Like, you can have a category or something. Have some standards, man. Have some standards, not all, but there are some people who are all, and they leave nothing. They leave nothing on the table. I know we've just scratched the surface of this list, but already I find you know these few types of sexualities very interesting. From a person who finds nothing attractive to a person who finds everything attractive. These are just two extremes, right? The asexual who wants nothing, the allosexual who wants, or allosexual who wants everyone. Then you get the libidoist who only wants themselves. And then you get the gray ace who only wants what they want. This is already, I think, getting into muddy waters. I've described dating as swimming in muddy waters, and this is why. Because you get all kinds in that dating pool. You really get all kinds in that dating pool. And people, gender wise, I think we have a issue in terms of gender identity, which people can have their opinions one way or another. I think to prove gender identity can be quite challenging and difficult, but intimacy identity can be quite dynamic. So people could be interested in intimacy for very many different reasons and to very many different people. I myself am very satisfied with intimacy just for fun and with no procreation. If there was procreation involved, I'm out. I'm not doing that, right? For me, that's where I draw the line. Being intimate with somebody, knowing that they could get pregnant, and this is even before a vasectomy. Like it limited, like not having a vasectomy really limited my scope in terms of dating. Because the first thing I'd always think about when I see someone or when I consider being intimate with somebody is this the person I want to raise kids with? And for most people, 99.9%, in fact 100%, it was no. And the only person I could stay in a relationship with or chose to remain with for a various period of time was because they had birth control. And if they had no birth control, I would have no reason to remain with that person. If they and as soon as they were gone off the birth control, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not sticking around with a person who deliberately wants to get pregnant. So, I'm that type of, intimacy identity. I'm a talkophobia. I'm a no to the babies. A serious no. To the point where I went and got a vasectomy. It's 100% no for me. It's 100% no. But for other people, I can imagine there are people who would only want to be intimate if there was a chance of insemination. I can imagine that based on this short list, just the short details that we've read so far on the list, that wouldn't be far fetched. People who want the risk of insemination. It's not far fetched, man. It's really not far fetched. Androsexual is the next one. Just let me finish my thought. By the way, if you have people like me who will not have intimacy, just to go back a few steps, if you have people like me who will not have intimacy for the sake of procreation, like not having no kids, there are absolutely people who would only have intimacy for the sake of procreation. So we're looking at the same thing, just completely different. Where I turned when I whereas I'm turned off at the point of procreation and insemination, somebody else complete turn on. It can be like that. It really can. On to the androsexuals. Someone who is sexually attracted to men and or masculinity. There we go. I think this is mostly the ladies. The term can be useful when describing the sexual orientation of someone with a non binary gender identity, whereas terms like heterosexual and homosexual are more gender specific. I'm not sure what non binary gender identity means. So you are fluid, you go this way and that way, or you have no identity, gender identity. So on the other hand, so I'm imagining, I'm just guessing. I'm guessing that non-binary gender identity means you don't identify either as a boy or a girl, or you identify as both a boy and a girl. Could be. It could be either one or the other, right? I think there's some ambiguity in there anymore. But androsexual are people who are attracted to men and or masculinity. So I'm assuming this is men, masculine men, or women with masculine traits. Right? So I'm just gonna muddy the waters as much as I can. All right. I think the more you muddy the waters, the more likely you are to be accurate, right? In terms of, you know, types of sexuality. I think the more muddy the waters, the more likely you are to be correct. The next one, androgynosexual. Androgynosexual. That's a new word. A person who is sexually attracted to individuals who are androgynous. In other words, or it est, someone who associates as both male and female, neither male nor female, or in between. I thought that's what non-binary gender identity means. I thought it means you're either both a boy and a girl, you are neither a boy or a girl, or you are something in between, right? So, an androgynosexual is a person who is attracted to all in all in all, right? Everyone and everything, but you have to identify as nothing. Oh, oh, that's a hell of a spice to add into the soup. So you are attracted to everyone, both boys and girls, but you want a boy and a girl who identifies as neither a boy or a girl. What exactly do you want? What do you want? Tell us what you want. What do you really want? Because now we are really, really confused. So you want one or the other that doesn't see themselves as one or the other, or something in between. You want something different. You just want to experience something different. Aromantic, someone who doesn't experience romantic attraction, but they may still experience intimacy attraction and have intimacy. So you want to have intimacy for fun. So you want the pleasure without the connection and without the bonding. You're just doing it purely for fun. I mean, sure, I think as a vasectomite you might be able to do this, but as a you know, as a sperm filled breeder, you're probably going to mess this up. You're really probably going to mess this up. This is something that's not mentioned in this article, by the way, or in this edification that we're reading today. All these people are going to get pregnant. Eventually, all this mixing and matching is all great for experimentation, but ultimately, somebody's going to get pregnant, right? And somebody's going to be on child support for the rest of their lives. But aromantic, I think I might have some elements of aromanticism inside of me. You know, most men don't really need a romantic connection to be intimate. We just need to be turned on. And I think that's sufficient. But I think for counterparts, a romantic connection, some type, they have to like something about you to spark that interest, to spark that intimate interest. Uh, autosexual, autosexual. What is that? It's just sort of like happens automatically, right? That kind of thing. Let's find out more. Someone who prefers intimate acts of self gratification and self gratification to sexual activity with others. So, is this kind of the same as a libidoist who is only into themselves? I think an autosexual maybe a person who, on the one hand, might be trying to avoid insemination, on the other, might be trying to avoid STIs. But it says here that this is a preference, right? This is somebody who prefers gratifying themselves rather than to be gratified by others or to be intimate with others and achieve their gratification that way. I I don't know anyone like this. In fact, most people I don't think are will speak freely about their intimate identity, so you won't really know. But I think most people are okay with gratifying themselves. I mean, I'm not gonna tell the man how to handle his meat, but I think every man handles his meat at some point or another in his life. But as to whether you prefer that, well, I mean, you better be very good at handling that meat. You better be very skilled. Otherwise, you might need somebody you know, to fry that bacon on your behalf, if you know what I'm saying. Automatic sexuality is something that is very interesting, very interesting to think about. I may have heard of a situation where a guy was being intimate with a counterpart. The counterpart relayed the story to me. She wasn't my counterpart, she was his counterpart, but I happened to be there and she was in the mood to share. So she opened up. She said she had been intimate with a person who was working overseas and he comes back frequently, and they hook up and they meet up and so on and so forth. And she said that every single time he was about to be gratified, he would use the extraction method and gratify himself every single time, right? And I thought, well, maybe he just doesn't want to risk insemination, right? But she was concerned that maybe that was his thing. That was how he preferred to, how you say, reach the peak of the mountain. To each his own. I wonder what type of sexuality that is. Where on the half you're in, half you're out. The half and half. I don't know. I don't know. But we're already swimming in deep and muddy waters. We might as well muddy them some more with the demisexuals, a person who can only experience sexual attraction after forming a strong emotional bond with another. So they have to be really in love with you in order to open up to you. Honestly, I think this is a person who's probably being intimate with somebody else. I think they're probably being intimate with somebody else and are holding out on you. But yes, some people might need that. Some people might need to feel a deep, unwavering love for you. And then they can form that intimate bond. But then the question is, what if the intimacy, like, what if you're not compatible? So you spend all this time building this emotional bond just for you to be incompatible, like when it comes to intimacy. Does that like mean that like, well, now she has to go form another close intimate bond with somebody else? I don't know how long this can go for. But eventually, I think you just come to a point where you realize, you know what, if you want this type of joy, you need to get that type of joy. And if you want this type of pleasure, you need to get that type of pleasure. But I hope that if you're going to build a strong emotional bond first, which can take time, it could take months and years, and you still won't build that bond. But let's say you invest a year and you build that bond, and then you find out that you're not compatible, like it's not worth the effort. Wouldn't you be better off just, finding out if you're compatible first and then work on building the bond? Doesn't that make more sense? Like, if you're not compatible, then don't bother building the bond. Why build the bond just to find out that you're not compatible? Again, we are swimming in muddy waters. So here we are with gynosexual as the next one and the last one of this slide. Someone who is sexually attracted to women and or femininity. There we go. The term can be useful when describing the sexual orientation of an individual with a non-binary gender identity. Non-binary, there we go. Neither or either. So you are either or you are neither or you're something in between. So it's somebody who is attracted to women or femininity. But so okay, so I think I get it. I get it. This is a non-binary person. So this is a person I'm trying to understand now who identifies neither as a boy, neither as a girl, but something in between, right? Or neither as a boy or as a girl, and not anything in between. And this person likes girls, right? So this person likes girls. Whereas the other person is non-binary, but they androsexual, they are non-binary, but they like boys. So androsexuals like boys, but they are non-binary. Genosexual or gynosexual, they like girls, but they themselves are non-binary. I think we're making progress. I think we're truly making progress. Now, again, if you are any of these, I hope you're having a great time, but I want you to know somebody's going to get pregnant. That femininity that you're attracted to, you're going to get that femininity pregnant. So while you're all practicing all these types of identities, intimacy identities, oh, I hope you know what's coming your way. Oh, I hope you're ready for what's coming your way in terms of that child support and that child raising. 20 years. 20 years, you're going to be in it for 20 glorious years. Oh, and it's going to be miserable. I guarantee you, you are going to cry tears. You and your intimacy identity while you're trying to figure yourself out, I want you to know that evolution has already figured it out. So we are here on our last screen, and it is omnisexual or pansexual is the next type of sexuality that you need to know about. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. Sexual attraction, regardless of someone's sex or gender identity, not the same as bisexuality. Gender does not factor for pansexuals or omnisexuals. So let me see if I understand this. Bisexuals will be with either boys or girls. But omnisexuals or pansexuals will also be with either boys or girls. But they are attracted to both, but somehow they are different. So you're not a bisexual, you're omnisexual, you date both boys and girls. Sexual attraction, regardless of someone's sex or gender identity. So you don't care whether they are a boy or girl or non-binary. Not the same as bisexual. Oh, gender does not factor for pansexuals. Oh, so they'll date whoever they like as long as they like them. Whereas bisexuals, they want both. Now I get it. I get it. A pansexual will date either or at any date in any, so they can go from dating a boy to dating a girl to dating a non-binary to dating another non-binary to dating another girl to dating another boy, and they won't care. But bisexuals, they will either only date boys or girls or both, and they themselves can be non-binary also, or they could be a boy, or they could be a girl, or they could identify as neither or and be something in between. I get it. I get it. Promosexual. The promo bit becomes or comes from postmodern. How do you get promo from postmodern? Isn't it postmo? Promo. Pomo. Yeah, shouldn't it be postmo? Okay, postmodern, pomo. Okay. The pomo bit comes from postmodern. It's not a sexuality in itself. Homosexuality homosexuals reject any label about their sexual orientation, seeing them as outdated and unnecessary. Oh, so homosexuals don't care. Either way, they don't care about none of this. So they don't care about vasectomies, they don't care about benders, counterparts, they don't care if you're bi, you're straight, non-binary, binary, and so on and so forth. They don't care. They think all of this is outdated. I guess I kind of understand that. I understand it in terms of like all of this is going to lead to one outcome anyway: insemination and pregnant. Right? That's all that, like, that's literally where you're going. It's like committing various different types of crimes. They're all going to land you in the same place: jail. So, whether you think these terms are outdated, whether they're useful, I think they all lead to the same outcome, right? Outdated or not, they all lead to the same outcome that we've been doing for a billion years. Sapiosexual, someone who is sexually attracted to others primarily because of their intelligence. I don't think I've actually ever met a sapiosexual, but I've met people who claimed to be sapiosexuals. I've met people who claim to be attracted to the intelligence of others when in fact they are not. They are actually attracted to their own intelligence, and they date people that make them feel intelligent. So what they will do is date you because you're intelligent, and because they understand or feel like they are of your capacity, it makes them feel intelligent too. But I've never seen a person who did not see themselves initially as intelligent be attracted to another person's intelligence. Generally, what I see is that they will date an intelligent person as an indication to a person that they deem to be unintelligent of their unintelligence, which is not very intelligent at all. Most counterparts I find are into the what I will say the bad boy phenomenon, the bad boy category of men, right? The bad boy persuasion, if you will. So even if you do have some intelligence to offer, you need to offer that intelligence in a crude and crass way, right? So you cannot be like overtly intelligent, because eventually then you insult their intelligence, right? So they want you to be smart, but not smarter than them. Because once you start being smarter than them, you start correcting them, and then they don't feel so good anymore. People hate being corrected, especially counterparts, and they always need correction. The next one is scoliosexual. Scoliosexual, a person who is sexually attracted to trans people, gender variant people, and those who do not identify as cisgender. I don't even know what a cisgender is. I think I'm a cisgender because I'm not any the other genders. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not even sure I belong on this list. But yes, so if you are attracted to trans people or gender variant people, this is you. There are people that are attracted to trans people. Now, I don't know if women are attracted to trans people or trans men are attracted to women per se. It's not something that I've heard asked, and it's not something that I've heard answered. But also, it's something that I think if you did ask it out into the open, people don't really know how to respond. I'm taking a very, I think, balanced approach to this discussion because I've had all day to digest it and I've read some of this information before, so I knew I'd be swimming in muddy waters. So as it gets murkier and murkier, I'm not surprised, right? I wasn't expecting to see or to understand much of this, right? But so I don't know if specifically like women will be into trans people or trans people will be into women. I mean now the people who identify as women and are biologically that way, right? XY chromosomes and whatnot. But I know that there are men that are attracted to trans people, right? And that's only because those are the ones that are speaking out. So if you go online, you look at the platforms, the podcasts, the discussions, what you'll see is generally it'll be another man saying, I'm with a trans person. It's not very often a woman. You might say, you might have a woman who say, for instance, they were already in a relationship when the transition happened, and they'll say that, yeah, we were together already, then the transition happened. But I cannot remember off the top of my head a situation where somebody was trans, approached a counterpart, and then began a new relationship after they were trans. But yep, you are a scoliosexual if you are. And then the last one is spectrosexual. Spectrosexual. Someone who is sexually attracted to a wide range of sexes, genders, and gender identities, different to omnisexuals or pansexuals who are not concerned with gender at all. So, where omnisexuals and pansexuals are not concerned with gender, spectrosexuals are concerned with gender, but they want every gender. What I think is happening is that there are people who just want to be intimate for the sake of intimacy, not like a vasectomite who's had a vasectomy and can now do it because they can. No, I mean, there are people who just want it. They want it. They don't care what it looks like, where they get it, how they get it. They just want it. And that's okay. Like, I'm not here to say that's a good or a bad thing, right? One way or the other. I'm just saying that there are those among us who want it and they don't care how they get it, right? And here we see people who are just attracted to, it says, a wide range of sexes, genders, and gender identities. This to me sounds like everyone. It sounds like you have the capacity to find almost anyone and almost everyone attractive, which has its place, I guess, in the world. If it didn't here, I mean, here we are reading about it. So it obviously does have its place in the world. The question is, does it have a place in your life? I don't know. I don't know. I'm really not into everyone and everything all the time. You know, I myself can tell you that despite everything, um, some of these counterparts are actually pretty attractive, man. Some of these girls look good. You know what I mean? Despite everything, despite the frustration, the theft, the lies, so many lies, and then the tears, the real tears, the fake tears, so many tears, oh so many tears. Despite all of that, you know what I mean? I'm not calling a bender. I can't imagine picking up the call and saying to a bender, hey man, I don't know. I wouldn't even know what to say to a bender, quite frankly, other than, did you get that report done? You know, corporate is waiting for the report. This is really the conversation you have with benders. Go ahead and get that report done. Gonna need those updates, gonna need those stats, production reports. See you next week, right? So, but to a counterpart, all kinds of things. Oh, hey, guess what, Miss Counterpart? I just got my rocket ready. I was thinking of going to the moon next week. I thought I'd take you with me, but let's hang out tonight. Oh, okay, you're going to the moon next week? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. But I'll keep you updated. What are you doing tonight? Come to my place, right? Wouldn't invite a knee bender to the moon, but I'd definitely take a counterpart to the stars, right? I'll invite you and say, hey, do you want to climb Mount Everest with me? I'm planning a trip next month, but I'd like you to come over tonight. Right? Say whatever you want with these counterparts. It's perfectly legal. Lying to people is not illegal. Lying to a judge, completely different story. But yes, this is the end of the edification. It's been a very interesting list. I actually enjoy reading these lists. I find that I can get through a point and get my thoughts more concisely out there. But some of these articles are delightful too. But I do like the list. I like having things organized in a particular way. My brain can process them quite quickly, and then I know when to move on to the next bit. Right? Articles, it's a different skill, I think. Reading articles is a different skill to reading lists. But yes, something that you must consider if you are an older person is that your kids can identify as any number of these identities, and they will be, not can be, they will be experimenting with some or most, if not all, of these types of sexualities, which means effectively they're going to be very busy. And eventually they are going to get intimately inseminated and pregnant. Not through IVF. It's going to happen the old fashioned way. And somebody's going to have to pay that bill. And in truth, whether it's your kids or not, there are people living like this. There are people who have these feelings, who are attracted to people of various kinds, all kinds, this kind, that kind, or no kind at all. This is happening in our lives. There was an entire movement around it. The people of this movement, the what do you call this? The Rainbow Coalition. That's what they've come to be known. These people had the capacity and the power to win over elections. So they are real. They are in and among us. And you can put your head in the sand and try and deny it, or you can put your moral value to it and say it's right or it's wrong. But people are still going to go out and live their lives the way that they want to live their lives. And what we need to know is we need to know information about what's really going on, so we're not caught unawares and we can be prepared ourselves. The best way that you can be prepared before you go swimming in these muddy waters is to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Because I'm telling you, you have no idea what you're walking into out there. If you start dating in 2026, or if you're still dating in 2026, This is just a tip of the iceberg. It's a scratch of the surface in terms of what you're going to encounter in realistically out there. You could meet a person who tells you that they are one way and find out that they are not just another way, they are something completely different to what you're expecting. And they could be involved in any kind of things, all kinds of things, with or without you, with your knowledge or in your ignorance. And you would never know until eventually it's time to face the consequences. My suggestion is before you jump into these muddy waters, this is what I call the romance wars. When I say romance wars, this is what I'm talking about. You don't know who's doing what. You don't know what people are into. You don't know what they have in their bags, in their closets, in their wardrobes. I dated a counterpart who whose every cupboard and every wardrobe in her house was full to the brim. It was suspiciously full. Like the kind of thing where you know that they're hiding something somewhere. And they are using the whole thing to hide one thing. And what they're doing is it's so full that they are dissuading you from looking everywhere. Just so that you don't, stumble upon the thing that they're hiding. And that could be anything from illicit substances to pleasure mechanisms to secret phones, all kinds of things. All kinds of things people are hiding. In their homes, people are always hiding something in their homes. You don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to come in here and think, well, this home looks clean. I bet they're not hiding something here, or they're hiding something. People hide everything in their homes, right? And then that's why when the cops come in, they rip everything apart. The sofas, the bed, the doors, they'll crack a door in half just to see if you got something in there. They're banging through walls, tearing down walls because people hide things in walls, all kinds of things. Right, so you can be sure that people are hiding things in their house, and I was certain that the counterpart was hiding things. And among those things, I'm sure, was intimacy paraphernalia, toys and things. Now, some of them I knew about, but I'm sure that others I did not. Some of them I knew about, but I'm sure that there were others that I did not. And I can only imagine what they are hiding, these people, in their hearts, in their minds, in their closets, on their phones, right? And most people are not going to describe themselves as this way until you know them as this way. So, in order for you to find out what someone's proclivities are, you need to know what their proclivities are. You know what I mean? Otherwise, they won't tell you. They'll just keep it a secret. And this is why you need to also be practicing the deceptive arts. You need to have your own secrets guarded and protected against other people's secrets. Because then otherwise it's the thing that you don't know that's going to catch you in the end. And you may not know that you are dating a person who, quite frankly, is a spectrosexual, who is attracted to a wide range of sexes, genders, and gender identities. This could be your wife. This could be your wife who is attracted to everyone and everything with no discrimination. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to live with that? These are things that you need to think about, and this is why you cannot be ignorant, and this is why you cannot afford to let go of any information. Anything that can update your synapses, whether you agree with it or not, you need to at least entertain it so that you know. So that you know what's out there, and at the very least, you know what might be possible. But yes, this is the end of the video, and once again, I want to thank you for your time and your attention. I appreciate it, and as usual, I always will. Of this, I can promise you. Please like the video if you've enjoyed the content. Also, share the video with a friend or anyone that you think will enjoy this content, and feel free to leave a comment to remain part of the conversation. I really think I nailed it this time. You know what? I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again just to be sure that I nailed this outro. Here we go. Here we go. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying, please like the video if you've enjoyed the content. Please share it with a friend who you think will enjoy the content. And if you're so inclined, please leave a comment to remain as part of the conversation. I think I nailed that. I really think I brought that home. Right? So I'm going to try fine tune it some more until I get it just right. But I am the Bachelor Supreme. I am the Ancient One. Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful and lovely day.